Hello there. When I reviewed the first season of Game of Thrones, I attempted to minimize spoilers, and I think I did a good job of explaining the season without revealing any major plot details. Unfortunately, if I attempted to keep that up, I'd quickly run out of things to say. So if you don't care about spoilers, you can stay. If you saw my review of Season 1 and thought Game of Thrones looked interesting, you should probably go and watch it and then come back. I will, however, strictly try to keep to Season 2 spoilers. Game of Thrones Season 2 premiered in 2012 and mostly covers events from A Clash of Kings, which was released in 1998 in the United Kingdom, and is the second book in George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire epic fantasy series, though it also takes some material from the following book, A Storm of Swords. In the book, returning viewpoint characters are Tyrion Lannister, Sansa Stark, Arya Stark, Bran Stark, Catelyn Stark, Jon Snow, and Daenerys Targaryen. New viewpoint characters are Davos Seaworth and Theon Greyjoy, the latter of whom actually appears in A Game of Thrones as a non-viewpoint character, where Davos Seaworth is completely new. Also Maester Crason. He dies. One name that you might have noticed missing from the returning characters list is that of Eddard Stark. He died. One of the major developments following his death from the books is the separation of the Stark children. Sansa Stark is stuck at King's Landing as basically a prisoner who will one day be forced to marry this abusive asshole.
Your Grace, whatever my traitor brother has done, I had no part. You know that. I beg.
Killing you would send your brother a message.
But my mother insists on keeping you alive.
Stand. Sir, we'll have to send your brother a message some other way. Leave her face. I like her pretty. Man, my lady's overdressed. Unburden her.
If you want Robb Stark to hear us, we're going to have to speak louder!
Robb Stark is declared King of the North and is leading the Northern Kingdoms in a fight for independence. Catelyn goes on missions of diplomacy. Bran Stark rules Winterfell in his brother's absence while also minding his younger brother Rickon Stark, and Arya Stark is disguised as a boy and is travelling along the King's Road to eventually be taken to safety. As for Ned Stark's bastard, Jon Snow is in the land beyond the wall to fight wildlings and search for his missing uncle Benjen Stark. Tyrion Lannister is serving as Hand of the King at King's Landing. Davos Seaworth is serving Stannis Baratheon, whom is making a campaign to capture the Iron Throne. And Theon Greyjoy volunteers to go to the Iron Islands to recruit some men for his father, whom he hasn't seen since he was a boy. And Daenerys Targaryen is travelling with what's left of her Khalasar, seeking temporary sanctuary. Was that a lot of ground to cover? It makes sense if it was. A Clash of Kings is over 1,000 pages long. The TV series does make a few changes from the book. The first chapter of the book is the Maester Crescent chapter, whereas in the TV series it's after a few scenes. We're shown the development of Robb Stark's relationship with Talisa. Jaime Lannister gets more screen time than in the book, where he pretty much just appears at the end. The ending scene of the TV series is actually not taken from A Clash of Kings, but actually an early chapter from the following book, Storm of Swords. There's also an added subplot to Daenerys' story where the warlocks of Qarth steal her dragons from her. Yeah, she has dragons now. I guess that I'll start with the newest character, Davos Seaworth, portrayed by Liam Cunningham. He was a smuggler who swore fealty to Stannis Baratheon, whom, though forgiving his crimes, felt compelled to remove Davos's left-hand fingertips as penance. This was altered slightly for the TV series to the fingers on his right hand instead, as Cunningham is left-handed. Cunningham is great in the role, portraying a man who's grateful for the opportunity to climb out of his humble beginnings and serve a king. Stannis Baratheon even told Davos that after he won King's Landing, Davos Seaworth would be the hand of the king. It is through Davos that we see the type of man that Stannis Baratheon is. While writing a note, he refuses to refer to Robert Baratheon as his beloved brother, as he didn't love him, and he'll do rather underhanded things to achieve his goals, and doesn't care about anyone else's feelings. So he's kind of like Ben Shapiro. Debatable which one is the bigger douchebag. It is also through Davos that we see more of the magic of A Game of Thrones, as he sees the Red Priestess Melisandre give birth to a shadow assassin that murders Stannis Baratheon's brother Renly Baratheon. The placement of events are a bit different in the book. Melisandre gives birth to 2 different shadow babies. The first that Davos doesn't see kills Renly in front of Catelyn with no explanation, and the second that Davos does see kills another character named Courtney Penrose who doesn't appear in the TV series. If you watch the opening credits, you'll notice Peter Dinklage getting top billing among the cast, and honestly, he deserves it. He's perhaps the best actor on Game of Thrones. Funny, cunning, loving, gentle, wise, humane. Let's talk about the couples from Game of Thrones for a moment, because there are some good ones. Tyrion Lannister and Shae to start with. Both actors share some pretty good chemistry, and you really feel that they are in love. Beyond the Wall we have Jon Snow and Ygritte, my favourite couple. Though they aren't officially a couple in Season 2, the seeds are definitely planted. It's just fun to watch these 2 characters interact. Jon Snow's brooding seriousness and Ygritte's constant teasing of Jon Snow, partially because of his virginity. Ygritte is a great character in her own right. She's funny and snarky and fierce, and she and Jon actually discuss something of substance about land, displacement, and basically this is more relevant considering the Trump administration. God damn it, Melka. You actually voted for Zap Brannigan.
It would take an hour and a half to learn everything there is to learn about missiles. I think I know most of it anyway. My wife, Ivana, is a brilliant manager. I will pay her $1 a year and all the dresses she can buy. I think the only difference between me and the other candidates is I'm more honest and my women are more beautiful.
So yeah, I love Ygritte. She's just plain hilarious.
I swear at old Master King Crow, sir. We were only close together for warmth, and then I felt it right up against me backside like a club. I can show you the bruise on my tailbone. And before I knew what was where, well, it was all out in the open, all angry as you like, and I didn't want it, but oh, I did. And he spread me legs and ruined. The shame of it. Now I can never marry a perfumed lord. What will my poor savage father say?
Turn back around.
And I thought that we were done, but he said, turn back around.
Robb and Talisa is interesting, as Robb isn't a viewpoint character in the books, so we have to be told of their relationship through Catelyn's viewpoint, and they too share some nice chemistry. Let's talk about character interactions. My favourite is between Tywin Lannister and Arya Stark. It's pretty impressive to see Maisie Williams hold her own against the seasoned actor Charles Dance. We also feel that Arya is learning something every time she's on screen. She's able to outsmart Tywin, whom also seems to come close to figuring out her identity. He actually figures out that she isn't a commoner, but she's able to cover her ass. Theon Greyjoy's story is a tragic one. When he was a boy, his father led a failed rebellion, which led to his only remaining son Theon being taken to Winterfell as a ward, meaning that if Theon's father misbehaved, Ned Stark would have to kill Theon. Despite the uncomfortable circumstances, Theon became good friends with Robb Stark, and was genuinely trying to recruit his father to fight on Robb's side. but his family pressured him into abandoning the Starks and capture Winterfell. Theon doesn't even want to do this, he's just trying to appease his arsehole father. Sansa's interactions with the Hound give us the first glimpse of the complex character that he is. Honestly, I used to hate Sansa. She came across as needlessly bitchy, but she doesn't really seem to be so in the books, and rewatching the series she only comes across as bitchy in the scene where she meets Shae. But the circumstances are understandable, so you can't get too mad at her. Especially not when she's with King Joffrey Baratheon, portrayed by Jack Gleeson, who, after being cast in the role, George R.R. Martin said something along the lines of, "Congratulations! Everyone hates you!" Before I discuss the House of the Undying sequence, I'll say something about Daenerys' Qarth scenes. Sometimes she'd wear a Qarthine dress that exposed her left breast, which she'd occasionally wear in later parts of the story and in other books. I guess that I could be a bit more book accurate. The House of the Undying sequence is both better and worse between versions. In the TV series, Daenerys sees visions of the future and present. In the book, she sees past, present, and future. Something added for the TV series was a scene where Daenerys finds her dead husband Khal Drogo and the stillborn baby Rhaegal. Is this dark magic? A hallucination of Daenerys? All I know is that this is a heartfelt scene, and Jason Momoa carries this scene. He really is a better actor than he gets credit for. You feel his sadness as he's talking with the moon of his life, knowing that she'll have to leave him. He's even better than Emilia Clarke here, and she's always good in her role. The sequence in the book is generally better, it's creepier, weirder, and you don't fully understand it. It's kind of like the boat scene from Rosemary's Baby, only with less Satan rape. The Season 2 finale gives us our first clear look at the White Walkers, referred to as the Others in the books. That's Others with a capital O. That's one of the reasons why they're called White Walkers in the TV series and not Others. In a book, all you have to do is capitalize the O in Others, and everyone knows what you're talking about. But in a visual medium like television, that's harder to accomplish. The producers were worried that if characters used Others, the audience would get confused and say, "The other whats?" So they went with White Walkers. Those are legitimate reasons, but I still think you could have used Others. It would have been trickier, but I think it could have worked if you had a character pause a little bit before they said Others. You know, but I think that could have worked. We see the White Walkers as tall, white, gaunt, mummified-looking zombie things. Game of Thrones Season 2 does a good job adapting the book and continuing the first season's brutality, as well as the complex characterization, though the amount of sex is toned down. We miss your character, Sean Bean. I hope you come back.